It is time to integrate this knowledge with radiologic imaging. Radiographs and CT scans are not just complementary tools. They are absolutely essential in the evaluation of injuries, deformities, and degenerative processes of the ankle and foot. In this part of our lecture, we will walk step by step through the standard imaging views, discuss what each one reveals, and emphasize their clinical applications. Let us begin with the antero-posterior or AP radiograph of the ankle. In this projection, the beam is aimed directly between the malleoli, and the image provides a view of the distal tibia, distal fibula, and the talus. You can see both the medial and lateral malleoli clearly, as well as the tibio-fibular overlap. Clinically, this is the most basic view for evaluating fractures, malalignment, and arthritis. It is also important in post-traumatic follow-up, as it allows us to assess whether reduction of fractures has been maintained and whether joint congruence has been preserved. In cases of advanced arthritis, joint space narrowing can be seen most clearly on the AP view. However, the AP view alone is not enough. This is why we also use the mortise view, which is essentially an AP radiograph with the foot internally rotated about 15 degrees. This rotation eliminates the overlap of the distal fibula over the talus, giving us a clear view of the ankle joint mortise and the tibial plafond. This is the best view for assessing the ankle joint space, as it provides equal visualization of the medial clear space and the lateral gutter. Clinically, widening of the mortise is a red flag for ligamentous injury, especially syndesmotic injury between the tibia and fibula. Orthopedic surgeons rely heavily on this view for surgical planning, particularly when fixing ankle fractures. Next, let us look at the lateral radiograph. Here, the beam is aimed laterally at the malleoli, providing a profile of the tibia, talus, and calcaneus. On this view, we can clearly identify the talar dome, the talar neck, the head of the talus, and the calcaneus, including the posterior facet and the calcaneal tuberosity. The navicular and anterior process of the calcaneus are also visible. One of the key measurements taken from the lateral view is Bowler's ankle, which normally ranges from 25 to 40 degrees. A decrease in this angle is highly suggestive of a calcaneal fracture and is one of the standard radiographic criteria used in trauma evaluation. The lateral radiograph is also indispensable for assessing subtalar joint alignment and for visualizing posterior malleolar fractures. Now let's analyze the stress views, which are specialized radiographs obtained while applying an external stress force to the ankle. These are critical for diagnosing ligamentous injuries that may not be apparent in standard views. In an external rotation stress test, if the tibio-fibular clear space widens beyond 6 mm, this indicates syndesmotic injury. Similarly, widening of the medial clear space greater than 4 mm suggests rupture of the deltoid ligament. Anterior drawer stress views can reveal anterior subluxation of the talus, which is typical of anterior talofibular ligament injuries. These measurements might sound small, just a few millimeters, but they carry profound clinical consequences. A missed syndesmotic injury, for example, can lead to chronic instability, pain, and early arthritis. In addition to plain radiographs, computed tomography, or CT scans, are invaluable. CT provides axial, coronal, and sagittal reconstructions that allow us to assess the articular congruity of the ankle and the subtalar joints. This is especially important in intra-articular fractures, where plain radiographs may underestimate the degree of displacement or comminution. In the coronal CT image shown, you can appreciate the talus, the medial and lateral malleoli, the calcaneus, and the sustentaculum tali. CT scans are the gold standard for evaluating complex fractures, such as pilon fractures of the distal tibia or comminuted calcaneal fractures, where surgical planning requires precise knowledge of fragment orientation. Magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI, adds another dimension as it goes beyond the bone and allows us to evaluate ligaments, tendons, and cartilage with exquisite detail. MRI is particularly useful for diagnosing osteochondral lesions of the talus, ligament sprains or ruptures that are occult on radiographs, and subtle tendon pathology. For instance, posterior tibial tendon dysfunction or peroneal tendon tears are best visualized with MRI. And finally, bone scans can be employed when stress fractures or subtle pathologies are suspected but are not visible on plain radiographs. These scans detect areas of increased metabolic activity in bone, highlighting stress injuries, infections, or early fractures before they become apparent on X-ray. Now, let us revisit the clinical correlations in greater depth. In the AP view, we look for malalignment, fractures, and arthritis. Malalignment may indicate malunion of previous fractures or congenital deformities. In the mortise view, any asymmetry in the joint space suggests instability. Widening of the syndesmosis indicates high ankle sprains, which require different management than typical low ankle sprains. In the lateral view, Bowler's angle is a crucial measurement. A collapsed angle almost always means a calcaneal fracture. Stress views directly test the integrity of the ligaments. If the medial clear space is widened, the deltoid ligament is torn. If the anterior drawer shows talar subluxation, the anterior talofibular ligament is injured. These findings dictate whether surgical stabilization is necessary. CT scans guide operative fixation of complex fractures, such as distal tibial plafond injuries or comminuted calcaneal fractures, where the surgeon must know exactly how to restore joint congruity. MRI identifies soft tissue lesions invisible to X-rays, making it indispensable in sports medicine. Bone scans provide metabolic data, picking up early stress fractures in athletes or military recruits. So, radiology of the ankle and foot is not simply about identifying bones. It's about integrating anatomy with pathology using each modality, X-ray, CT, MRI, bone scan, for its strengths. Plain radiographs give us the first-line assessment. Stress views reveal instability. CT shows us the complex geometry of fractures. MRI unveils the hidden world of ligaments, tendons, and cartilage. And bone scans highlight bone metabolism before structural damage is evident. When we combine these tools with our anatomical knowledge, we can reach a precise diagnosis, plan treatment effectively, and prevent long-term disability for our patients. This is why radiology is not just an adjunct, but a central pillar of foot and ankle medicine. In the next part of our lecture, we will continue expanding into the ligamentous structures of the ankle, and we will see how radiology and anatomy complement each other in the evaluation of stability and injury patterns.
In this section of our lecture, we turn our attention to the radiographic evaluation of the foot. Radiographs of the foot may appear simple at first glance, but each projection reveals a wealth of anatomical and clinical information. By mastering these views, one can diagnose fractures, dislocations, deformities, and subtle injuries that would otherwise be missed. Let us begin with the anteroposterior, or AP, radiograph of the foot. In this projection, the beam is directed perpendicular to the midfoot, and it is typically obtained with the patient in a weight-bearing position. The weight-bearing AP view is essential because it shows us not only the bones, but also the way the arches behave under physiological load. In this image, we can clearly identify the metatarsals, the phalanges, the medial and middle cuneiform bones, and the cuboid. A crucial landmark is the alignment of the second metatarsal base with the medial cuneiform. This alignment must always be evaluated because end disruption may suggest a Lisfranc injury, a severe midfoot dislocation that is often overlooked in acute trauma. The AP view also allows us to evaluate for deformities, such as hallux valgus, by measuring the hallux valgus angle and intermetatarsal angle. Clinically, this makes the AP view indispensable not only in trauma, but also in the evaluation of chronic deformities and surgical planning for bunion correction. The oblique radiograph of the foot is obtained with the foot internally rotated about 45 degrees. This projection highlights the midfoot and forefoot structures, particularly the articulations between the metatarsals and the cuneiforms and cuboid. Notice in this image how the fourth metatarsal aligns with the cuboid. This alignment must be checked carefully because misalignment may indicate fracture dislocations of the tarso-metatarsal joints. The oblique view also demonstrates fractures that may be obscured on the AP view, such as subtle metatarsal fractures or fractures of the cuboid and cuneiform bones. Clinically, it is a vital projection for midfoot injuries, especially when evaluating complex Lisfranc disruptions. Next, let us examine the lateral radiograph of the foot. Here, the X-ray beam is directed laterally across the tarsals, producing a sagittal profile of the hindfoot, midfoot, and forefoot. On this view, we can see the talus in its entirety, the head, the neck, and the dome, as well as the calcaneus with its posterior facet, sustentaculum tali, and tuberosity. The base of the fifth metatarsal and the navicular are also well visualized. The lateral view is excellent for evaluating the longitudinal arches of the foot, both medial and lateral. Flattening of the arch suggests pes planus, while exaggeration suggests pes cavus. In trauma, the lateral view is crucial for assessing fractures of the calcaneus and talus, as well as dislocations of the midfoot. It is also helpful in detecting subtle anterior process fractures of the calcaneus, which may mimic simple ankle sprains clinically. We also have the calcaneal or Harris view, obtained with the beam angled 45 degrees to the heel. This projection is particularly valuable for examining the calcaneal tuberosity and posterior facet. Calcaneal fractures, especially intra-articular ones, are best appreciated on this view, where the subtalar joint surfaces can be analyzed. Any loss of congruence or irregularity here carries major clinical significance, as subtalar arthritis is a common long-term consequence of missed or inadequately treated calcaneal fractures. Another important specialized view is the canal view, obtained with 15 degrees of foot eversion and the beam tilted 15 degrees. This is designed specifically to visualize the talar neck, a region that is notoriously difficult to assess on standard projections. The talar neck is clinically important because fractures here are highly associated with avascular necrosis due to disruption of the delicate blood supply to the talar body. In fact, the Hawkins classification of talar neck fractures is based on the degree of displacement and associated risk of avascular necrosis, making radiographic visualization here essential. The Broden views are another set of specialized projections. With the patient's leg internally rotated 40 degrees and the beam tilted at varying angles, 10, 20, 30, and 40 degrees, these views highlight the posterior subtalar joint, including the posterior facet and the sustentaculum tali. Fractures of the posterior facet of the calcaneus or sustentaculum may not be visible on standard X-rays, but they are crucial for surgical planning as they dictate how the subtalar joint is reconstructed. We also make use of stress radiographs of the foot, in which the AP projection is combined with abduction, adduction, inversion, or eversion. These stress views allow us to evaluate joint stability and detect occult dislocations. One of the most important clinical uses is in diagnosing Lisfranc injuries, where stress views can demonstrate abnormal widening between the first and second metatarsals. And finally, let us mention the axial or sesamoid view, obtained by dorsiflexing the hallux and directing the beam along the foot axis. This view isolates the sesamoid bones beneath the first metatarsal head, showing us their position and articulation. It is extremely helpful in evaluating sesamoid fractures, bipartite sesamoids, or dislocations. Because the sesamoids function as pulleys for the flexor hallucis brevis tendons, any disruption can cause significant forefoot pain and dysfunction. Sesamoid pathology is especially common in ballet dancers, sprinters, and individuals with chronic hallux valgus. When we put all of these views together, AP, oblique, lateral, Harris, canal, Broden, stress, and sesamoid projections, we gain a comprehensive radiographic map of the foot. Each view reveals a different angle, a different set of articulations, and a different potential pathology. The AP and oblique are essential for midfoot and forefoot fractures and deformities. The lateral shows us the arches and hindfoot fractures. The Harris view is indispensable for calcaneal trauma. The canal view isolates the talar neck, which is critical in high-energy ankle and foot injuries. The Broden series reveals the subtalar joint. Stress views uncover instability. And the sesamoid view addresses one of the most overlooked but clinically important sources of forefoot pain. Clinically, these radiographs guide treatment decisions every single day. They determine whether an ankle sprain is truly just a sprain or whether a subtle Lisfranc injury lurks beneath. They reveal whether a patient's chronic foot pain is due to a bunion, a stress fracture, or a sesamoid disorder. They dictate whether surgery is needed to restore joint congruence or whether conservative management is sufficient. In short, the radiology of the foot is not a passive tool, but an active guide in clinical decision-making. And so, as we conclude this section, remember, to truly master the anatomy of the foot, one must see it not only in cadaveric dissection or schematic drawings, but also through the lens of radiology. Because in practice, it is through these images that most diagnoses are made, most fractures are classified, and most treatments are planned. Radiographs are the bridge between anatomy and clinical medicine.